All right, welcome back. You're watching the tail end of the program right now. Right, MPs who voted yes. You can get a list of this in the Standard today, and they're all here. So many of you were saying, hey, I could see most of the editor-in-chiefs were written to, that tomorrow make sure you have the publication of everyone who voted yes, and here it is yesterday. This is how they voted. Let me just begin from tops there. I want to go through the entire list. Samuel Chepkonga, Anapkoi, he is one who also voted yes. Benjamin Kipkirui, Bureti, Marianne Kitani, Aldai, Florence Gematia, Baringo, also Joshua Kandie, Baringo Central, Kipkoros, Makilap, Baringo North, Charles Nkamuren, Baringo South, Koech Nelson Belgut, Alpha Miruka, Bumachoge Chache. We have Lynette Chepkorir, Bomet Women Rep, Richard Cheruyot, Bomet Central, Diegon Richard, Bomet East, Gideon Ochanda, Bondo, Catherine Wabilianga, Bungoma Women Rep. That we have Komengoe Kibet Mgwen. This is where you're saying we should correct it.
Josel amended.
Yeah.
That's Josel amended.
Where exactly? This Mgwen. Yes, this is we need to correct this one.
Yeah, engineer amended.
All right, and then we have
Cherangani.
Cherangani. So this is should be Cherangani.
Yeah, Cherangani is okay, but it should be Simiu, not Kibichi. I don't know even that guy. I don't know whether he ran.
Okay, all right. We'll make sure that is but now it's been published, but that's a correction that needs to be there. We apologize. Rindikiri Mugambi, Buuri, Kirima Nguchine, Centro Elementi, Victor Koech, Chepalungu, Diego Paul Kibichi, Cherengani, Patrick Ntwiga, Nchuka, Igamba Ngombe, Faramali, Dadab, John Kiare, Dagoretti South, Musa Sirma, Eldama Ravine, Eda Kanan Eldaz, Caroline Ngelechei, Elgeo Marquez. We have Lemengit Joses.
Yes, that's now Mgwen.
This is now Mgwen. So this should be the Mgwen.
Yeah, Mgwen.
And we correct here. This Emuria Dikir Johanna Ngena is okay.
Yeah.
Omboko Milemba Emuhaya. So this is where it appears twice. So this is Mgwen.
Yeah.
All right. Then we have Robert Pukose, Endebes, Yakub Farah Fafi, Charo Kazungu, Ganze, Barodeko, Garissa Township, Guyo, Ali Wario, Garsen, Edward Wakili, Ganze, Kururia, Njoroge, Gatundu, and that is how they voted. I'll read you the rest of the story, all the details, all the list I should say, much later. It will be running by on the split so that you can actually pick out who voted yes from your constituency. That is on page 8 of the Standard today. Let me just head over there quickly so that it will be running by you, and you pick out your legislator and how you're going to make a decision come 2027. Here's a list as we continue. All right. Well, we want to hear from Kipruto Rapkirwa. I think we have Professor Alfred has raised a raft of issues, especially on the collecting of a house living and investing it in the infrastructure bonds. Yeah. You can actually comment on that briefly, even as we wind up with the whole topic of the finance bill.
I wanted to broaden it, Dibal, from where Professor Omenya has left. The fact that there is a need for communication within the government, that is in terms of how are things sitting in. Because it seems one part of the government is dealing with their own issues, almost like all ministries are pigeonholed in a way that no ministry communicates with the other. And that is an essential part of government running. If the government is not able to communicate internally and deal with some of those nuances, then it becomes impossible for the government to be coherent. The second issue is also still on communication, to communicate with the public in a respectful manner, in a way that the public understands the government, and the way the public also does not see the government displaying any level of arrogance, any level of largesse, any display of some kind of luxury. These are all communication tools. And I feel the fury while Dr. Kidero was saying possibly the media may be amplifying. there is, you know, there are two types of media. There is the conventional media and the social media. And the conventional media may not have the capacity to be able to police whatever is happening in the social media. I think the social platform has taken over much of the communication that we understood to be. And therefore, the government needs to improve its communication. Otherwise, I'm sure in the social media, it was fueled by the fact that some people display unnecessary level of arrogance.
So this was purely organic, Dr. Kidero, from the social media. We just, the conventional media just rode over it and, you know, told what was actually happening. Despite the fact that it was actually, even if the media didn't pick up this particular tab, that is the mainstream media, we still would have had protests ongoing.
Which unfortunately, I don't think the mainstream media have been doing their job. I think to a large extent, I mean, they've been, they tend to...
You want me to be fired? I don't know.
You know that I'm a product of the industry.
Yes.
And we know what merchant headlines are.
Yes, that's an important history.
Merchant headlines are, and obviously, it's merchant headlines that sell either viewership or
readership.
Readership. But let me just go back to what Prof had said, that I mean, the government need to provide services. True, government must provide service, but they need to generate that money, and they generate all that money through various sources. Correct. The current budget is 3.9 trillion, of which our own sources is going to be 2.9 trillion, with the 400 billion coming from appropriation in aid, and the balance of 700 we have to borrow. And this is only 14.3% of our GDP. Actually, it's much, much lower. Averagely, I mean, the expenditure, the budget expenditure should be somewhere between 36 to 40% of the GDP. In developed countries, it is 55 to 60%. In the Norwegian countries, it's up to 60%. So yes, we need to raise it from the current 14.3% of GDP to about 20%. Can you imagine even Congo is spending more money as a percentage of GDP than us? Yes, Botswana is spending more money as a percentage of GDP as us. So the government is in a catch-22 situation. I mean, it needs to raise money, but it needs to raise it in a manner that does not hurt people. I'm glad that Professor did agree with me that, yes, I mean, there are certain aspects of this bill which are, I would say, like the Pareto principle, 80-20. Probably what is arcing people is just 20%, while 80% is good. So, Mheshimiwa Okura just said that a better job should be done in giving the information and what us in media would call infotainment, rather than more on the entertainment, be on more on information and edutainment.
Yeah, but the issue of the GDP, that has been also an ongoing debate, whether that should be the ultimate metrics for measuring, you know, the welfare of a country, as opposed to maybe to purchasing a power index or consumer power index at the end of the day, looking at the Laffer's curve. Because yes, we have projection, even Rwanda is heading now towards a two-digit, GDP.
To tell you the truth, I don't think it should be, because I mean, countries like us, like where malaria is prevalent, infectious diseases it's prevalent. We are giving a lot less money to health. We are giving a lot less money to education.
Even agriculture itself.
And we're giving a lot less money to agriculture. So, but somehow it is the only measure we have. Because it's the only measure.
Which is not a true reflection of where we are. So we have we're talking about all the growth projection is heading, you don't have any money in the pocket. People wonder what these metrics are, what growth are we talking about at the end of the day?
But you need a standard.
But we need to change the standard as well. It doesn't mean that if they set, that is a set template that has been there with the World Bank or the Bretton Woods institutions, that is what we need to follow. Right? So I think maybe we need to reconsider that, so that it is misleading at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We have a report from World Bank saying
can I just finish?
The trajectory of the
Can I
economy
just
is
finish
going
what
down.
Can I just finish what I was saying?
Yes, please.
Is that I think we are in general agreement that 80% of what is in the finance bill is good, and we don't need to throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Are we collectively in agreement? Don't speak for everyone because
I'm echoing what
I didn't say 7%. You didn't say 80%.
But somehow I've got
It's the same percentage.
in fact,
the biggest point I was trying to make there, it doesn't matter whether it is 90% or even
10%.
In fact, for me, it is an issue about the rationale of the actual proposals. That's what I was highlighting, that eco tax. And it's the same. In fact, you mentioned health. Yes, there's a proposal. I hope it has been dropped. Is one of the things that I've not looked at on mosquito nets. And here you are. Surely, you need to provide free mosquito nets for your people so that they don't die.
Indeed.
And then you're proposing to tax it. So you see,
actually, it's a contradiction in terms because on the other side, you are removing VAT on insecticides.
Exactly.
Mosquito repellents.
Yes.
But on this side, you're doing it on but I believe
so for me, the issue is really about the coherence and the rationale behind this. In fact, that's what in the media, people have said that you see these things were put there to irritate us. And then they removed. And I was saying, look, I mean,
what was the idea before
this
putting
is
it?
actually the lives of Kenyans. You don't need to joke with it. So whatever you put there, you should put because you've thought through.
Professor, what I think, MPs are lazy. I think this thing should be removed from Parliament and be given to people like you to give feedback so that when they go to the committee of the House, it's well considered because MPs have absolutely no time.
But he had a sporting chance with the public participation as well.
Incidentally, we've made this proposal over and over again, but they say, oh, these are university people. we've always, our standing point all the way from Ali Uhuru time was that the MPs should actually have a researcher attached to them.
Exactly.
Just like judges.
Exactly. And when it comes to things like finance bill, we actually have institutions that are dealing with this issue.
But we have the Parliament Budgetary Office, isn't it? It's got very competent people.
But then you see the way they operate is the same thing. They look at the whole document. Then the MPs are given these things. In fact, if anything, a lot of those MPs are listening to Gen Zs on TikTok and so on. And some of them are even saying things which are factually incorrect.
How many of them have read it?
Exactly. Another thing, they need people who can actually break down this for them. Tell them, look here, as MP for Bondo, this might affect your people in this or that way. So consider that. So that when you listen to the debate, I mean, one of the things that I found very annoying, I don't know whether you listen to the debate on the finance bill. I stopped listening at some point because people were just coming in and making generic sensational statements. Instead of saying, no, this particular provision, I don't agree with it. This particular provision, I don't agree with it. This particular provision, I don't agree with it for 1, 2, 3 ways, and they make the points. It sounded more like a campaign stunt. Oh, if you don't listen to this, this government will go home. On the other side, we have to support government. Where will government get money from? Of course, we know government makes its money from taxation. It's a moot point. But all we are saying is that all these things, in fact, even when you're listening to the people outside there, the only responsible thing is to say, these people are making noises. What is the finance bill actually saying? I've actually had people make claims that it don't even exist in the finance bill. It is not there.
Absolutely.
Like the quote, like the biblical quote that you're citing there. So there is a section of which section of the bill
I think that's a good point. Where we agree.
We're in agreement.
We are in agreement.
We don't need to reject this bill.
Let the committee of the whole house do it.
Let it go to the second reading and the third reading. And in the process of that, then the contentious issues are looked into.
All right.
So that we have a fine, document.
And even Honorable Kiro agrees.
All right.
Kiro, may obvious opinion say, I do agree generally that we cannot fight
ways of government raising taxes and raising some money for development. But it's important for us to understand the MPs that we have today are people who go to their constituencies in helicopters. They don't have time to go through this. It is not like during our time that you had to stand and make a point with specific reference to the constitution and to the facts at the table. Today, people are just making general statements. Even people who have gone to school, like some of the lawyers. Somebody stands and says, I support this thing because this is the best way the government is going to raise taxes, without saying this will affect this and this will affect the other thing. So I think we need to call on MPs not to be lazy. Yeah.
You know what, Honorable Kiron? One of the things, one of the amendments on VAT was introduction of VAT in purchase of planes above 2,000 tons. But you know what? They dropped VAT on helicopters.
Yeah, you can imagine.
But I believe that
for them to go to the constituency.
Yes, I mean, the helicopters, and that's what.
And helicopters. When we talk about helicopters, we know we don't even need to do like on helicopters.
We need to consider three things: logic. What is the rationale behind the amendment? But these members of parliament, some of them, you ask them, why are you rejecting the document or supporting? They have no idea. And then you hear people say they have been forced. Nobody has forced them. But you see, politics is about persuasion. That's another thing. So when you see things are not going on, then as a leader, you call your people and persuade them. Let the budget, go through the process. And then that persuasion is regarded as being forced. That's not forced. But it's not forced used anywhere.
But even some debate.
You see? And the last one is the moral. We have a moral obligation in the whole process. When you find a Mama Mboga, saying, please don't tax me, let's listen to that Mama Mboga. If a cyclist is saying, do not tax these tires for the motorcycle, and then we listen to that
and
one.
The wheelchair.
And the wheelchair, surely. We have to listen to that. Indeed. There's no point of rejecting the whole bill.
And no one reject the whole bill. At the bigger political economy level, in fact,
we're going to raise money.
This finance bill should even be branded, Is it for growth and development? Is it for job creation? Is it for social protection? Is it for protecting Mama Mboga and so on? There should even be bigger ideas before these details. That we are saying, look here, this is where we are. Is it for debt reduction? Is it all this? So we're saying we're going to do a finance bill.
It is branded, sustaining bottom-up economic transformation.
It is.
And economic growth.
It is.
But you see now, what you're not seeing is how. When we're saying, okay, fine, we're going to achieve this job creation, and these are the provisions that we're putting in the finance bill, to sparse there. We're going to get investors in our country, and this is what we're doing in that. There was a thing what I was talking about. We're going to get more people owning homes and more whatever. And these are the issues that we put there. We have joblessness for the youth. These are the issues that we actually put there.
Thank you, Prof.
There's a level at which we expect this debate to be.
I'll be remiss if we don't also call out the police, because we have one protester who was killed yesterday during a protest in Nairobi, and witnesses say he was shot by an undercover police officer on Moi Avenue. No one should die at this particular...
Especially if it's peaceful.
If it's peaceful and they've declared peaceful. So one protester has been killed. He died yesterday during the protest in Nairobi. This is witnesses say he was shot by an undercover police officer on Moi Avenue. And we want just to ask our security officers, these are very peaceful protesters, they're ongoing. If there is any threat in your life, of course, we shouldn't be using live bullets. We've seen that also yesterday. Somebody was nursing injuries because he was shot by police officers as well. So I don't know. Maybe your reaction on this, I think we need to call out
definitely.
Before we wind up on this particular topic.
Yeah, I think it is useful really to emphasize the fact that when we check Eldoret, Kisumu, and many other parts, the demonstrations were largely peaceful. Nairobi, the people were peaceful, but the police used excessive force. Because you see, initially it was something like water.
Correct.
Then there was some stuff with some kind of color.
And the pepper spray.
Yeah, I think pepper spray. And of course, you've had Nairobi where somebody was killed. I think Nairobi...
the bus that actually, Tia Kanisa was lobbed in a bus. There was a pregnant woman. She had actually had to jump from the window. And, you know, there was a bag which was lost there. People don't know where she is right now. I think even for a bus, surely, to lob Kanisa in a bus.
Yeah, I think Nairobi, we need to call to the Nairobi, the guy in charge of Nairobi. Adamson Bingei. He has almost taken it into his head that he's running this government from the capital. And I think it's dangerous. The moment the police seem to be meeting a lot of violence on the people, that is when now the people will revolt. And when the people revolt, I do not know where we are taking this country to.
All right, Dr. Kidero, you want to comment on it briefly?
I think
on the death of the
I think it's completely uncalled for, especially we'd say that the protests were peaceful. There were nobody was being mugged, shops were not destroyed, and it was completely uncalled for. Nobody should lose their lives.
Indeed.
Yes.
All right, Kindiki.
Yeah, I think we don't support violence, and I think the police, in my view, largely they conducted themselves professionally, and if there was that kind of incident, it's regrettable, and they should not be repeated. I think they should use their professional ways of using understanding, the reasoning, and all that with these young people, so that if they be at peace, but again, also they should not provoke the police, by the way, for example, approaching parliament, because actually that is the seat of the government. That is where all members of parliament are seated and everything is in parliament, or even the what do you call it, the governor's office. They are very close to the parliament. I think those areas they are public issues, and even the what do you call the chief justice place, the high court, and all those are very, very special government areas, and they should be protected. At the same time, let the police be sober and handle these young people with their sobriety, so that there's no much kind of conflict, and we regret the death of a person who was shot. We don't know really whether that's a police undercover, because you see, when these demonstrations happen, even somebody may do it to discredit the government and say, now you see the police are shooting, and you see those are unfortunate cases. And I don't know whether investigation has been done really to establish is a police officer or somebody else who pretend to be a police officer, but we don't support violence.
Thank you. All right, let's turn the crack now to politics, where President William Ruto's UDA party and the Money National Congress have agreed to merge ahead of the 2027 polls at a meeting attended by President William Ruto and Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. The two parties resolved to form a joint implementation committee comprising of both political and legal minds to expedite the merger process. Jeff Kirui has more on this.
For some time now, talks have been rife of a possible merger between the ruling party UDA and Musalia Mudavadi's party ANC.
Uvibariki hivi vyama vyetu viwili.
Barely 2 years into office, the ruling coalition has now set in motion plans to realize this plan ahead of the 2027 polls.
There is absolutely no reason for us to run two parallel parties that have the same thinking, they have the same mind, they have the same formation, they have the same orientation. So it is just natural that let us see how we bring these parties together in a merger, so that our secretariat works as one, our executive works as one, our party structures are merged, so that we can create the momentum for moving the country faster into the future.
The conversation today is therefore within our party laws. I have no doubt in my mind that this idea is one whose time has come.
Sasa yale tabaki ni ile mechanics ya kisheria, si ndio? Lakini tumeamua kwamba tunasonga mbele, tuungane na Mheshimiwa Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya.
The decision you're making today and the journey we are starting today is a journey that takes courage, msiuziwe uoga tena, and a journey that will put us in power beyond President William Ruto.
The two Kenya Kwanza coalition partners appear to have agreed to go into the next polls with a monolithic outfit. And the party is now pushing for other affiliate parties to fold and join forces under one party.
The president is now planning for another match. If they knew the formation at that time, he has to prepare so that there'll be a different formation at the next match, which then plays and wins. All we want is victory for the team, and the team leader is President William Ruto.
A stronger party will help us deal with the challenge of ethnicity, will create a bigger, united, more representative formation that brings the aspirations of more Kenyans into an organization that will help us drive Kenya into the future.
Other affiliate parties within the ruling coalition are hesitant to fold for fear of losing the political negotiating power in the next poll.
ANC made the decision to work with UDA. Many people were not sure whether that was the right decision. But it was the right decision because we formed the government.
Mimi naomba tu sasa wale viongozi wetu wengine ambao bado wako na vyama zile zingine. Mheshimiwa Wetangula, tafadhali fata barabara ya Mheshimiwa Musalia Mudavadi. So that sisi wote tuwe na chama cha nguvu. Tukitaka kubagain, tunabagain kama Waluya wote wako kwa gari moja.
The current push is akin to the 2016 merger between retired President Uhuru Kenyatta's TNA and Ruto's URP that gave birth to the Jubilee Party that went on to take power in 2017 general election. Jeff Kirui, KTN News.
UDA death, Ruto crafts giant party. United Democratic Alliance, the party that propelled President William Ruto to power, is on its deathbed. The announcement was made at State House, where it was agreed to fold it up and start new outfit. And I want just to begin with you, Honorable Kirwa, because you've been intimately familiar with Musalia Mudavadi. You've been on a long journey ever since.
Yeah.
What would you advise him today? Is he making the right decision?
Yeah, let me start on a positive note. It has been worrying me that every election, and I had predicted that the next party that is going to form government or be in the opposition is a new outfit from the arrangements that we had in the last election. Because for the last 25 years, no party has formed government twice since the days of Kanu. And this is worrying me because a political entity that is supposed to be pervasive within the entire nation and is supposed to be present all over is an entity that is going to stem the uprise of tribalism that is really bedeviling our country. So I want to commend the president and also the party leader of ANC for thinking of coming together. But I wish they could broaden that coalition to include other political entities, and we in the opposition also likewise do the same, so that we shared this feeling of owning so many kiosks along the street. And at the end of it is supposed to be a supermarket where we can have shares and we sell under one roof. That's the only way we can really get out of these rigmarole of political entities that are formed, they die, carried in briefcases, carried in the tribal conclaves, and without the necessary national outlook and structure. And in so doing, I just want to say, apart from now the threat ANC is facing in South Africa, there have been only two political parties in Africa, ANC in South Africa and CCM in Tanzania. And I see what the president is doing is something commendable. I would have wished that they would have done it with the presence of the deputy president. Because you see, they may be coming together with Musalia and Rigji bolding out of the same arrangement, perhaps joining us in the opposition.
Rigiji was not there.
He was not there. Then they should have organized.
Or it was providentially arranged that,
or he was sent away to South Africa for this kind of arrangement to be done. But on a serious note,
yes.
I strongly believe in strong political parties.
So you're in support actually of
having
that? A super mega UDA?
Yes, I don't know, call it something else, so that it does not carry UDA into the new arrangement.
What does it portend for the multi-party, democracy that we've entrenched ourselves?
It's still going to obtain, because you see, multipartyism is not how many parties you have in a country. Even in America, there are so many parties, but there are only two major parties, Republicans and Democrats. So even here in Kenya, the only way we can fight this issue called tribalism is to have a strong political entity. In the opposition, we can also have one strong political entity. This coalition, I don't believe. I believe that we move to merger. Coalition means there is some deficit of trust. I don't trust you. We are in a coalition. Should the situation be bad, I run away from you. Should the situation be good, I sail with you down the road. Because this is the way I look at it, and this is my honest feeling.
Thank you.
Yeah, and in one of my papers, in my second master's, I did on political parties. And I passionately believe in it, because Africa, we don't trust each other. We are still tribal, we are still personal, we are still selfish, we are still thieves, and it worries me every day. Yeah.
Kinero, so you're changing party colors, it seems, from yellow and green.
As you're aware, I mean, in the last election I ran, when Kirwa moved from UDA, I joined Azimio.
He didn't tag you along. You didn't follow the
no, I mean, I went independent.
The head boy.
He was independent. We met. In fact, the day I was changing, I met him in Kisumu Airport.
You didn't consult.
But I think, I mean, if you look at all the developed democracies, be it the UK, be it the US, you'll find 2 or 3, maximum 3, or maybe 4 strong political parties. And they are very, very well integrated. And in Kenya, we have got 42 tribes. And it was worrying me that we were going to have several ethnically centered political parties. And what the President and Honorable Musale have done, I think is probably the best thing. I believe that this was done in consultation with Rigiji, and Rigiji is part of it. I'm sorry to dissuade Honorable Kirwa that he's not joining them in opposition. We recently had, I think Homa Bay was one of the first counties that had a successful party elections. And out of the 500,000 registered voters, 200,000 are already in UDA. And by the next election, actually the new party is the one that is going to carry all the constituencies, is going to carry the governor, is going to carry the senator. But this underpins...
That's a prophecy.
No, these are facts.
Be wary political facts.
These are facts. But I think what we need is to carry the president's vision of one Kenya, where you're born, where you're brought up, and who your father or your mother is does not make a difference. We are Kenyans, one Kenya, with one Kenyan vision. And I believe the behemoth party that is coming up is going to be the foundation that will drive that. Yeah.
All right. Great. Let's hear from Honorable Kindiki.
Very
Professor Kindiki.
Yeah,
you never know.
It's okay. It is a prayer. I can't add more, but I think what Dr. is saying is true, that this manja has come at the right time, because UNDA may portray some kind of tribal connotation, and when you talk of ANC, the same, but when they come together, they bring a bit of national face. If you go to, as you have alluded here, you go to America, it's Republican or Democrat. If you go to UK, it's either Conservative or Labour Party. And these are major parties, and there are the other small parties. Yeah. So even in Kenya, we could have 10 parties or even 15 parties, but we need 1 or 2 strong parties that goes across the board, so that does it portray one community. This as Dr. is saying, if you go to Nyanza region, you'll find the Huda there. You go to central Kenya, there is Huda. Go to Rift Valley, is the base. You go to Mombasa. That cut across the board, so that when you say that I belong to, for example, the party that is going to come after NC and Huda, somebody that is look at you like you come from that area. It looks you like a Kenyan. So I think it's the best way to go.
Thank you.
And I think we support the idea. Let them do, and even we copy or we emulate what is going on, and then we give the support. About the deputy president, those are just the home-keeping issues. You never know.
You never know.
Come back. He's one of us.
I think there has been a committee which is set up. He's one who's going to head up.
Something in politics is that you go, like now he's in South Africa, people create a story. He has been told to go so that we do. There's nothing really. He is one of us, and he must have given an apology, and the one who has sent him is the president, and they are together. They are working together. Those things, you know, there are people who see things happening in a certain home, and they want to poke their noses and asking, why are you this family? How are you living here? We are one family, we one thing. These are just domestic issues, will be sorted out with the time. So forget about that one.
Politics is about optics.
Yeah,
it is about optics.
It is true.
Yeah, I don't know what Professor Alfred, you're reading from your tea leaves, because it seems, from your tea leaves it could be different. People are saying,
maybe he has something different.
He's fearful of the Tawe movement. Maybe now this is actually putting his head on the political chopping block. Musalia Mudavadi, he's been spineless, lackluster. He's not a man of his, of his own skin at the end of the day.
Let them come.
Because we've seen also, Ford Kenya has not folded. Correct. And I think there was a meeting also in State House where we had Wetangula and Musalia, who they had the same conversation, but one is adamant, he's not throwing back, I'm not folding my party.
You know, it is, I think I like politicians, because when you listen to every politician, they'll tell you different stories, but they'll sell it.
Yeah. It will be the mash and tender.
When it comes to political discourse, of course, we love that. But there are a few interesting things, though. Positive and negative about the Kenyan bit. Now that you mentioned, let's start with the speaker and his party. You know, whether we like it or not, the speaker has been able to survive for many years. Yeah. Sad to put it that way, simply because of the numbers of Bukusus. As simple as that. So it's a tribal thing, and he uses that to bargain. And nobody sees that, because people say, oh, Ford Kenya. You start thinking that, oh, Ford Kenya maybe has that. No, Ford Kenya is supported by a particular Luya sub-ethnic group.
Kusu.
Yes, and they're the majority. They're the biggest number of Luyas. It's the biggest subgroup. So I think the way some of these people look at it is that this has been able to support me all these years. Why if I merge, suddenly Mudavadi, that comes now from what is Maragolis, and Maragolis are not as many as Bukusus, might start becoming a kingpin. So this part of the issue, and I think all the Waheshimiwas and Prof have spoken to it, that it disturbs me that the only way we organize our political parties is tribal and tribal coalitions, and I think we are in dire need. We really are in dire need of issue-based parties. In fact, for myself, I'm not really bothered about the size of parties. I'm more bothered about issues, because the bigger parties will emerge eventually. They'll emerge and they'll stabilize, depending on the numbers that support them. But I think what's worrying is a situation where there's nothing about these parties. There's nothing they stand for. You look at even minority parties in the West. They've had a longer, engagement with democracy. You'll find there's a party that only represents one small region, and they deal with an environmental issue. It's a one-issue party. And occasionally they come in, they get into government, sometimes they don't, but they push for those particular issues. So you start seeing that, oh, this is a party that works for youths and so on. And for me, my prayer is that at some point in our development of political parties, we can actually get parties that are issue-based, not even ideology-based. Eventually, we will hope that, they get there. Where you're saying, no, if you're a farmer, join this party. Yeah. if you're a youth or whatever it is, join this party, because that's the party that articulates, those type of issues and so on. Otherwise, you end up with a situation where you have a big party that has no issues or purpose to deal with every issues, and then you have small parties that are the same, that are just ethnic and tribal. But having said that, the positives also. The mere fact that Kenyans different parties win elections, whether it's the same guys in different formations and so on, is a very positive thing. I used to boast when I was based in South Africa. I used to tell them, look, you have no democracy. In fact, for me, I was so happy when ANC could not get the majority. Because I was saying, this is actually a single party system. ANC was so big that it didn't matter. ANC was actually going to actually win. Now we have Malema's party, the EFF. Whatever we say about EFF, what I like is that EFF is a right-wing party that has picked a number of extremist issues in South Africa, especially that ANC would not touch. Things of land, things of how do you deal with post-apartheid economics, and so they picked those things and they push it. So if you mention to me EFF, I'm not thinking about the Shangans. I'm not thinking about the Zulus or the Xhosas or whatever it is. As opposed to saying Inkatha Freedom. When you mention Inkatha Freedom, it's a Zulu party. Yeah. So you see, for me, this is a better way of building democracy, where you're saying, big or small, this party deals with this issue, this party deals with this issue. And whether we are forming coalition of bigger parties, we'll be forming them, and the optics and what the president said there, and particularly the president, I think was correct. That, I mean, if you're two parties basically pursuing the same things, then why can't we merge? Because at the end of the day, these political parties are pushing for an agenda. They want to get power so that they can actually mainstream those agendas and so on. So, I mean, if you've got common agendas, why not? Either in the form of a coalition or actually in the form of a party. But that's our prayer. That and UDA, in fact, UDA. Let me finish with this debate. UDA for me is disappointing, because I thought that UDA was going to be that party that was going to be issue based. Because when you look at and Mwesh is here, when UDA campaigned, it was pretty interesting. In fact, you thought that this is the party whose policies will be dealing with issues of informality, issues of youths, issues of Mamamboga, issues of whatever. You want to say, oh, you're running some little business outside there. Go to UDA. Then us now, myself, I need to declare this. I'm actually in ODM. Now us were to deal with dynasty. Big corporations and so on. when you want to set up a new bank or do these huge things, then we say, you come to the party of dynasties. We welcome you. We work with corporations. I'm only saying that on a light note. That we saw in UDA's campaign almost a starting point of an ideology, almost a starting point of a different way of governing, of a different way of running the economy, and so on. But having said that, we have not seen the evidence of that in practice.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Taking up now to the close of the show, I just want to get your final remarks, beginning with you, Honorable Kirwa. Yeah, your closing remarks, 30 seconds.
Yes, thank you. The week has been very interesting, and I will want to emphasize the issue that let's allow any demonstrations today or in future to remain peaceful, and let the government of the day spend more time communicating the reality, so that we do not create confusion, and in the process we create conflict in public domain.
All right, let's hear from you, Dr. Kidero, your closing remarks, 30 seconds.
Actually, I want to thank the panelists. I think we've been very, very open, and we've agreed that...
Except for the concession of the finance bill, we've agreed that,
a majority of the clauses of these 136 over 600 paragraphs it would be important that they are read, they are distilled properly. And the Committee of the Whole House, and Honorable Kiro did say that when he was very diligent. He did that when he was. Let's give the Committee of the Whole House an opportunity and appeal to those members of parliament who shout at the rooftops without having read the bill to read it and make their contributions during the committee or the whole house. Last but not least, I think we continue to congratulate the President and Honorable Musalia in getting together, and we would urge all the other parties, particularly my friend, the Speaker, Moses Wetangula, that let him join the party. And Professor, I don't know whether your party still exists.
He'll tell us.
I don't think ODM still exists.
We are strong.
I want to thank my colleagues in this panel and our moderator, Dibar. I want to say that I think Kenya Kwanza to date is the most democratic government because it has given Kenyans the opportunity to debate in a robust manner about finance bill. And I think all Kenyans have participated, and it's been demonstrated by the young generation who are participating now, and they are hearing their views, and the government has started listening to them. I think that is the way of, to be a mature democracy. So for me, that space is provided by the government. Lastly, let Kenyans, please, we plead with all Kenyans, we support this bill with the amendments to be done, because this bill, I don't know whether we are aware that it is the most important thing that will help to finance the budget. Otherwise, we will have a country without a budget for the whole year.
Right.
This is very dangerous. So let's support the bill.
All right. Professor Omenya, your closing remarks. What was your party again?
You guys, this is the longest surviving party in this country, so don't joke. But I just want to really also congratulate and thank fellow panelists, Honorable Kirwa, Dr. Kidero, Prof. Kindiki. And it's directly linked with my next point, that when we see these demonstrations, when we see people debating in Parliament, when we see people talking on social media, when we're here, we should remember that as far as the country is concerned, we're on the same side. We just want the best for our country. But we are in different spaces. Some people are in the opposition, some people are on the streets, some people are on TikTok and so on. So we should actually, and even the message to government and police and so on, that all these people are on the same side.
Thank you.
The only thing that they're saying is that, we are bringing in some things on the table from our perspective. And going forward with the bill, on that same adage, we should not really be worried about, a Kenya Kwanza bill or a President Ruto bill and so on. It behoves members of parliament to come and say, look here, these particular provisions that are being made,
we need to go.
Are they the best for our country? And what is not good, it doesn't matter whether you are in the position or not. Once you agree that this is unreasonable, it should get out.
Thank you.
Once you agree that this is okay, it should actually get in.
Thank you.
So that the political formations just become platforms.
Thank you.
Against which we build something better for our country.
Thank you. Thank you, Alfred Omenya, governance and policy analyst. All of you, governance and policy analysts, I really do appreciate you coming through this morning for that very cogent, incisive discussion we've had on the finance bill. It still continues to be debatable until Tuesday next week, when we'll see what is the way forward around it as well. But I want to thank you for coming through this morning, Dr. Kidero. Thank you, Professor Kindiki, Omenya, and of course also Kipruto Arab Kirwa. Thank you for your valued company as well. We have News Diary, which is coming up next. Keep it KTN News.